meeting number 8 of the Standing Committee on Citizenship and Immigration to order. Today, we will be going through the main estimates 2020-21, as well as the supplementary estimates for 2021. Today, appearing before us, we have Honorable Marco Mendicino, Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship, and also the officials from the Department of Citizenship and Immigration. We have Katrina Tepley, the Deputy Minister. We also have Marianne Campbell Jarvis, Assistant Deputy Minister, Strategic and Program Policy. We have also Daniel Mills, Assistant Deputy Minister, Operations, and Hugues St. Pierre, Assistant Deputy Minister, Chief Financial Officer, and Controller. Before we begin, just some health and safety reminders for everyone. A reminder to all the attendees in the room to be physically distance yourself from others by at least 2 meters and to wear a mask unless you are seated and you are more than 2 meters from anyone else. This is a hybrid meeting. Some members are appearing in person in the parliamentary precinct and the others are appearing remotely. Just a reminder again to all the members, please speak at a pace slow enough for the interpretation to keep up. The meeting is being webcast and is available on PAL View. So we will have the Minister of Citizenship, Immigration and Refugees for the first hour. I see a hand raised by Madame Martinez-Farada. Yes, please.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I have a point of order. The routine motions outline that remarks take the total of 5 minutes. So I wanted to request that in the case of the minister's remark, go beyond 5 minutes, and that the time is added to the minister's overall time at committee in order to maintain the same time for questions from member at committee. So, for example, the minister's remark go 1 minute beyond 5 minutes remarks, an additional 1 minute be added to the minister's 1 hour of committee. Would that be okay with that, all the members?
Thank you, Madame Martinez-Farada. Yes, we know that through the routine motions, we provide 5 minutes to the witnesses. So for this request by Madame Martinez-Farada, we would like to have a unanimous consent if it is okay with everyone. Those who are in the room, hope it is okay with everyone.
No objection in the room, Madam.
No objection, that is good. We will proceed, and I would welcome Honorable Marco Mendicino, Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship, for appearing before this standing committee. Thank you, Minister, for appearing.
Sorry, Madam Chair, just want to go back to the motion that was just moved. I just want to get a clarification before we proceed. And so that means that we would possibly run longer in a meeting. So does that mean to say, though, that the second hour where we have officials before us, that full second hour would be intact and would not be compromised?
Thank you, Ms. Kwan. We have started the meeting at 3:35, and Madame Martinez-Farada has requested that if the minister, in case he goes beyond 5 minutes for his opening remarks, he will stay additional time, whatever. If we go, for example, goes 2 minutes over 5 minutes, he will stay for those 2 minutes additional to 1 hour, which he's supposed to stay here.
Yes, no, I understand. But I'm also thinking for the next hour when the officials come. And so because our committee meeting is scheduled for 2 hours, right? And so that means I also don't want to lose time for officials because we'll bump back time. So will we be able to run our meeting a little bit longer in order to accommodate this change with officials?
Is it okay with everyone? I see the heads nodding. That is fine.
Thank you very much.
I would welcome the minister. Minister, thanks for appearing before the committee. It's always a pleasure to have you in the committee. And on behalf of all the members, I want to take this opportunity to thank you for all the work which you are doing on behalf of all Canadians. So, floor is yours, and you can please start.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Bonjour. I'm pleased to be able to offer remarks on Immigration, Refugee and Citizenship Canada's main estimates for 2020 and 2021. We convened during a year that has been unlike any other in living memory. 2020 will forever be etched in history as the year of COVID-19. This global pandemic has upended every dimension of life, and immigration is no exception. In fact, given that the movement of people across international borders is the sine qua non of immigration, one might easily conclude that few other portfolios within government have been more impacted by this dreadful virus. Amidst a second wave, the need for ongoing travel restrictions, quarantining, social distancing, and reduced capacity in workspaces remains obvious. Cumulatively, there is no doubt these necessary measures, which are designed to protect Canadians, have had an effect on immigration. Yet operationally, we have made quantum leaps from where we were last spring to the present day. I want to be clear. This has been a challenging period, especially for the peoples and families who have been touched by the disruptions caused by COVID-19. Cette dernière année a certainement été difficile pour...
This last year has been very difficult for us all. With the closing of the borders on an international scale and limited travel, COVID-19 has had considerable repercussions on our immigration system.
In concrete action, we've kept immigration going despite the pandemic. We've continued to land economic immigrants, reunite families, and resettle the most urgent refugee cases. We've prioritized work permits for those in the most crucial sectors, like healthcare workers, emergency service providers, and our farmers and food processors, to make sure our front lines have the reinforcements they need to keep us healthy and to keep food on our tables. We've reunited thousands of families and loved ones by creating pathways at the borders. And we've managed to do this by investing resources where they're needed most, by going more digital, and by streamlining our policies, all with the help of our hardworking public servants. C'est un plaisir pour moi de prendre la parole pour...
It's my pleasure to speak today on the main estimates of the IRCC and its supplementary budgets, the B budget.
2021, IRCC's main estimates include a total of $2.8 billion across all votes. Our supplementary estimates B include new funding of $324.7 million. Des mesures ont été mises en place.
These measures have been established in order to assist those on temporary residency who could not leave the country but wish to. We've also established facilitation measures to respond to the concerns of establishments of higher learning.
Listen.
That's correct. I couldn't tell what the minister
stop the
was
clock
saying.
so the clerk, if you can please look into it.
Minister, if I
apologies, Madam Chair. Yeah.
It's an interpretation issue.
If possible, could you change the language on your Zoom to English if you're speaking English? That might resolve the issue, sir.
Minister, if you can change, if you're using French or English, change accordingly. I think then
I will do that.
Okay.
I will do that from this point forward.
We can resume. Yes, please.
With regards to our top line mandate, we have introduced innovative measures to continue landing permanent residents in Canada. In fact, our virtual landing process has actually reduced the time it typically takes to welcome a permanent resident. Those PRs who wish to sponsor their spouse will be pleased to know that we have stood up a special team to accelerate and prioritize the processing of up to 49,000 applications before the year's end. This too will help bring together more families. While we are exhausting every effort domestically, it is also important to recall that IRCC has a significant operational footprint abroad, which has been impacted by the sovereign decision-making of the countries in which they are located. However, we are starting to see visa application centers reopen around the world as local restrictions allow. Many VACs in key countries like India and the United States are beginning to reopen, including some just this week. The fact that our partners, both domestic and international, are resuming operations bodes well for continuing to make progress with regards to our processing time. For instance, in the week ending on November 14th, we issued 80% of final decisions compared to a similar period in 2019. Several streams exceeded production compared to last year, including the provincial nominee program, which was at 232% year over year, and protected persons, which was at 557%. The pandemic has also spurred us to innovate when it comes to citizenship. With all large public gatherings off the table for the foreseeable future, we've taken citizenship ceremonies online, welcoming new Canadians at thousands of virtual ceremonies. As of mid-October,
à la mi-octobre, IRCC avait fait prêter serment, le serment de citoyenneté à plus de 43 000 nouveaux citoyens canadiens dans le cadre de 8 800 cérémonies.
Sorry for interrupting, Minister. I think, again, we have the same issue. So if you can change on your screen the language as you change, so that would be easier.
I am on English. I have not touched it.
So yeah, if you are speaking in French, then please change it to French.
I have not spoken French yet. When I do next, I will move to French.
Okay. Thank you. Please
May I resume?
Yes, please.
We are also currently finalizing the development of a new online platform that will allow us to safely and securely resume citizenship testing online. Finally, beginning January 1st, 2021, citizenship applications for applicants aged 18 to 54 will be accepted electronically, which is a big step forward. We've been efficient and nimble through this most challenging period, and these lessons will serve us well as we continue to welcome newcomers and strengthen Canada through immigration. Many of the innovations created will have a lasting impact on our processing times. That's important because we've seen throughout our history that immigration is a driver of economic growth and job creation, and we know that it will continue to play a critical part in both our short-term economic recovery and long-term prosperity. That's why our recently released immigration levels plan will gradually increase immigration over the next 3 years at a rate of about 1%. As I'm sure you're all aware, travel restrictions and other constraints led to a shortfall in admissions this year, which is why our increases over the next 3 will make up for it. Bien que le système d'immigration du Canada ait été touché par la pandémie de COVID-19, nous demeurons déterminés à accueillir des nouveaux arrivants au pays. Nous continuons d'accepter les demandes et les traitons le plus rapidement.
And deal with them as quickly as possible. We will continue to accept applications and process them as quickly as possible. We know that we must continue to innovate and accelerate our activities in order to attain their objectives, and we will continue to
You can please look into it.
Yes, I will right now.
Yeah. Sorry, Minister.
That's okay. Pas de problème.
Mr. Clerk, it seems to be okay when the minister is speaking in English, but as soon as he turns into French, then it's an issue.
Okay, thank you for letting us know.
Yeah.
Est-ce que je peux continuer?
Just 1 second. I think the clerk is looking into this issue.
Madam Chair, I'm just going to do a quick sound test. Regrets for the interruption.
No
I'm speaking in English. Test, test, test. J'ai changé la langue en français. Je parle.
Now I'm speaking French. Testing, testing, 1 2 1 2 testing.
So, Madam Chair, we've run a quick test. We don't have a diagnostic to explain the issue at the end of at your side or at Mr. Dhaliwal's side. Regrets for that. And we're going to keep tracking this. If you carry on with the meeting, we'll be observing and recording and taking note. And if anything else comes up, hopefully we'll have a better explanation.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clerk. So, sorry, Minister, for the interruption. You can please resume.
Pas de problème. Merci, Madame la Présidente. ARCC continuera de trouver des solutions et les restrictions à la frontière.
Only there's no language, there's no English translation.
This is the English channel. This is
Please.
Okay, sorry, Minister, for all these interruptions. You can please resume.
ARCC continuera de trouver.
IRCC will continue to find original solutions to the significant challenges put forth by the pandemic and the border closings.
Who we are and who we hope to be. We're choosing to be open, vibrant, and prosperous. Thank you all very much for indulging with the technological difficulties. I would now welcome your questions.
Thanks a lot, Minister. And on behalf of the committee members, I want to apologize for all the interruptions we had, but this is not in our hands, the technical issues. We will now go into the round of questioning. We will start with our first round, and Ms. Dencho, you have 6 minutes to start your round of questioning. Ms. Dencho.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Minister, for your remarks. I just want to start off by asking you how many national interest exemptions have you approved?
Well, I will tell you that we have a process in place to issue national interest exemptions, and for the precise number, I will defer to my officials.
So you can't tell me how many you've personally approved? Do you have an estimate, 100, 500, 1,000?
I will defer to my officials for the precise number rather than just giving you an estimate.
Okay, because my understanding is there are 5 cabinet ministers, including the Prime Minister, who can approve these. So I'm just a bit surprised that you really have no idea of how many you've personally approved. And the reason I ask is because, of course, Canadians have seen that a number of very elite Americans have been granted these exemptions and have not had to quarantine. So I'm just surprised that you're not aware of how many you've personally approved. But
that's not what I said, Ms. Dancho. I said that I would defer to my officials for a precise number rather than giving an estimate.
Okay.
But Minister, Mr. Mills has that number for you.
Oui, bonjour, bonjour, merci.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So with regard to the exemptions, it's about 1,300 as of mid-November. Those were the exemptions to travel to Canada.
For that answer. Minister, can you tell me how these conditions are enforced by your government? There seems to be a lot of concern that they're not being enforced very well, and in fact that a lot of elitists have access to these and others don't, particularly those that are looking to reunite with their families.
Sorry, the sound was not very good, Ms. Dancho. If you could repeat your question.
Madam Chair, just point of order.
Yeah. Yes.
If there's going to continue to be sound, I'm just wanting to verify that the last 20 seconds there will not be taken off my time.
I will make sure I've stopped the clock, and
can you tell me how much?
I'll make sure that you.
Can you tell me how much time I have remaining then?
You are at 1:45, 1 minute 45 seconds right now, and we will have additional 20 seconds for you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. You can resume.
You know, I'm just going to move on from this since I'm not quite getting the answers I was looking for from you, Minister.
No, by all means, pose By all means, please pose your question again, Ms. Dancho. It's just because of the technological difficulties, I could not hear the first part of it.
I'm actually going to move on to the next section of my questions, and maybe we'll circle back. I wanted to ask you about the ambitious target that you announced a few weeks ago, the 401,000 permanent residents for next year. You've hinted in the media that you may grant those who have temporary resident status, such as asylum seekers, permanent resident status, to sort of provide for this 400,000 that you're hoping to bring into the country next year. Can you tell the committee how many asylum seekers you're planning to grant permanent resident status?
Well, over the course of the next 3 years, as you know, we hope to welcome 401, 411, and 421,000. We've also set up some objectives to welcome a number of resettled refugees in the range of 36,000 per year over the next 3. And we will strive very hard to reach those goals.
Right, but how many asylum seekers are you planning to grant permanent resident status, specifically asylum seekers? You've hinted at, I asked because you've hinted at healthcare workers, which I'm just wondering if you can specify how many you're planning.
Well, this builds on the announcement that I made last summer in Quebec regarding the Guardian Angels, who made exceptional contributions on the front lines of our hospitals and healthcare workers. And I think that we will continue to look at those immigrants who are already within our borders and try to broaden the pathways to permanent residency where we can, particularly in those essential sectors where contributions have been vital to provide the healthcare that Canadians need.
Yeah, thank you. I want to ask you specifically in the context of Quebec. We know the vast majority of the asylum seekers that are regularly, or as many call illegally, cross the border into Quebec at Roxham Road. Are you going to be providing jurisdiction to Quebec to decide who those permanent residents will be from those asylum seekers?
Well, as you know, Ms. Dancho, the federal government retains the jurisdiction when it comes to refugees, but we work very closely with the Quebec government, and that also includes with regards to the Guardian Angels program, where I have a very good rapport with my counterpart, Minister Giraud, and we will continue to work in close collaboration with them to achieve this important work of providing a safe harbor for the world's most vulnerable.
The Minister, the reason I ask is because I'm just wondering if that process, and since you've confirmed it now, really, if that process sort of encourages more individuals to sort of irregularly or illegally cross the border and sort of circumvent the streams that we're seeing have massive delays. I'm just wondering if you're creating a very dangerous precedent for folks to go around the backlogged immigration streams and just walk across the border. Are you concerned about that at all?
On the contrary, Ms. Dancho, we've invested in our borders to ensure that we have one of the best asylum systems in the world, and that includes reinforcing integrity at the borders. So far from encouraging, we actually discourage irregular migration, and we have made significant progress on that front, and that is also in close collaboration with the Quebec government.
You know, I was in Public Accounts Committee the other day, Minister, I'll have to interrupt you. I was in Public Accounts the other day, and they confirmed that 800 criminals that illegally crossed the border claiming asylum, not valid asylum claims, they also happen to be criminals, are within this country. So I'm just a little disappointed that we're having this conversation when I feel that it's quite important to set a very clear line that those who come across the border and illegally claim asylum are not going to be granted permanent resident status before those, such as expired permanent residents, like the COPRs,
we have
for
one
example.
of the best asylum systems. We have one of the best asylum systems in the world, and that includes rigorous screening when it comes to inadmissibility. If people
we were not hearing that at the
Madame la
Public Accounts
Présidente,
Committee.
point d'ordre. Je voudrais pas interrompre ma collègue, mais je comprends qu'il y a encore une fois pas de traduction de l'anglais au français.
Okay.
Sorry for interrupting.
I think I'm out of time anyway. Apparently they can't hear me very well. Sorry, go ahead.
Je mentionnais qu'il y a encore pas de traduction de l'anglais.
I was mentioning that there was no translation from English to French.
So regrets for the persistent interpretation issues. We've taken note. We're looking into it. I don't yet have an explanation, but I'm seeking one, and I'll message you directly, Madam Chair, when I have more information.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Ms. Dencho, you can please resume.
Okay. I think we only have about a minute left. Is that correct, Madam Chair?
Yes.
Okay. So Minister, I'm just going to ask you about the 14-day processing deadline. Your officials have told my office that, in fact, it's a 21 business day processing deadline before we can ask them. So I'm a bit concerned about the deadline and that you said first 14 days. Now we're hearing 21 days. And of course, it's been much longer for many that applied at the beginning. But what I did want to tell you is that I have here a list of over 100 individuals who applied and have not heard anything from your office. And I'd like you to commit to the committee today that you will personally look at this list on behalf of the families that are looking to reunite that were promised from you that they would be processed within 14 days. Can you commit to looking at that list personally?
Of course, Ms. Dancho, and I acknowledge your advocacy and the advocacy of many entities on this issue. I'm certainly moved by those families who have not been able to reunite yet, but we're working very hard to reunite. We've already reunited thousands, and we'll work on those cases as you bring them to our office's attention.
Sorry for interrupting, Minister. Time is up. We will now move on to Ms. Dillon. Ms. Dillon, you have 6 minutes for your round of questioning.
Bonjour, Monsieur le Ministre.
Hello, Mr. Minister, and welcome to our committee, and thank you for your appearance. I'd like to begin with my first question. As you know, Mr. Minister, at this committee, we've studied the effect of the pandemic on immigration. We've heard from witnesses and interest groups with very, very terrible presentations, very difficult situations which have been moved us all. It's been a huge difficulty for a number of families, and I know that this has been one of your major concerns as well, you, the government, and that there have been much development to improve the sponsorship of a spouse. Can you tell us some of the changes that are underway currently, please, to improve the situation? Yes, thank you for this question. It's very important to try to unify families, particularly during these trying times, which is why we introduced a compassionate case process for the enlarged family or extended family. We have established a service standard of 14 days when the program was created, and this standard has not yet changed. We have established a working group which will focus on these requests and answer those questions, and they will continue to deal with the request as quickly as possible. Our government will continue to assist families to get back together, protecting their safety and security of all Canadians. Thank you, Mr. Minister. Of course, the pandemic has struck a heavy blow to our processes, both Canadian-wise and worldwide. Many newcomers were involved in the citizenship process when arriving in the country. Can you give us an update on the citizenship activities in all these subsectors of immigration, refugees, etc.? Okay, I have to take the time to change the language station myself. Yes, we have introduced a few measures to advance the progress being made on the path to citizenship. As I said, we have virtual citizenship ceremonies right now. There's been several hundred since the pandemic has started. And there are other elements, of course, of the process that we are modifying or adapting that we can do digitally or virtually, such as the citizenship test. Thank you very much. As concerns immigration and those seeking asylum, as of March, the CIRB closed its doors because of the pandemic. We were quite happy to hear that hearings are going to resume and come back to a more or less normal rate or pace. Can you help us to understand what changes were made at the CIRB, the Immigration Refugee Board, to accelerate their processes? Once again, thank you for the question from my colleague. Yes, we have invested quite a bit of money as resources as well to the hearing board. With these resources, they can continue to process the various asylum requests. Canada has and continues to have throughout the world a very good reputation in hosting or welcoming those who seek asylum in Canada, even in Quebec. Thank you, Mr. Minister. Madam Chair, what's my time left?
Et Monsieur le ministre.
Mr. Minister, can you tell us about other changes that might be foreseen shortly as a result of the pandemic, and how can we improve things further for those who are seeking to be the immigration stream?
Pardon?
Well, as you may know, we have introduced a plan for immigration for the next 3 years, and we are going to be focused on employment, labor, manpower, and to deal with all the challenges that demography is throwing our way in the long term. We've begun this in cooperation with our provincial counterparts and partners, and I'm quite optimistic and very confident for the future of Canada.
We will now move on to Madame Normandin. Madame Normandin, you have 6 minutes. Floor is yours, please.
Merci beaucoup. Merci, Monsieur.
Thank you much, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Minister, for being with us today. I'm taking a focus on the new criteria for those who are in a situation of sponsorship, and if these new criteria for double sponsorship, I believe, and if these are in effect now. Could you rephrase your question, Madame Normandin? I believe that those agents who are evaluating visa requirements when somebody is in a sponsorship or sponsored position, there are perhaps double grounds and multiple grounds. Are these new criteria in effect? Yes. There is a process whereby all applications are evaluated by our on their merits by our agents. Impartial decisions are being made by the officials who are working autonomously or independently, always with objectivity. Well, the new criteria, are they in effect now? And would we be able to get copies of this in writing as to what the criteria are for your analysts or your agents? Yes, these directives are published, and we can offer them to you. We like to ensure the transparency, but all applicants are judged on their merits and transparently. Okay, my next question deals with the commissioners on the board. There have been no in-person since the 3rd of August. The various sections have resumed virtually on the 29th of June. I've written to the department, and all the commissioners have received their full remuneration during the crisis. Have we asked of them to use their unused holiday leave and perhaps sick leave? On that question, I'll have to give the floor to some of my officials here for this answer. Well, perhaps I'll ask them in the next hour. I'd like to hear from you on those who work in restoration and at very low salaries. Work permits were no longer going to be used for those who are doing repairs because unemployment is too high in that field right now. We'd like to have recourse to local labor. The discussions you've had with Minister Qualtrough to suspend the requests of these visas, or permits rather. Yes, I am working with Ms. Qualtrough. The shortage of manpower is very, very severe in all in all provinces, including Quebec. Immigration in the hospitality area, if we take a look at which sectors are involved, others have shortages as well. In the health field in particular, in agriculture as well, and this is why we are putting the focus on trying to close the gap. Okay, but right now the requests for work permits for the hospitality sector, restaurants, hotels, can there be a high unemployment rate, and a high rate of labor shortages? We have adapted the work permit criteria for foreign workers, and we've begun to modify the system with Ms. Qualtrough and my counterpart from Quebec. This flexibility will allow these workers to change the category of work that they do once arrived. For example, in agriculture, there's a workforce which is quite present despite the fact of the pandemic. I'm sorry I have to interrupt you, Mr. Minister, but we have the information that there are requests for work permits that are no longer being processed. They're not being analyzed. This was for workers also in the agricultural sector because the unemployment rate was getting too high. So we were going to slow down or cease analyzing evaluating these. So can you not have the same number of working permits and high unemployment here? Immigration is there to address our shortages, our labor shortages. We've created some flexibility in our system to help the temporary foreign workers, and this will be, of course, have ramifications for all workers. Well, certain requests are no longer being assessed. Is this a way to soften the...
We will now move on to Ms. Kwan. Ms. Kwan, you have 6 minutes. You can please start.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and thank you to the Minister for coming to our committee. I'm going to follow up on the question around dual intent. The Ministerial Inquiries Division have confirmed that the information newly posted on the government website about dual intent is essentially an internal memo to provide clarification to assist in interpreting dual intent, but it is not considered an actual policy. So will the Minister consider suspending the use of Section 179B for sponsorship applicants applying for a TRV with dual intent, and will the Minister consider issuing a special TRV similar to that of a super visa for parents, grandparents for spousal sponsorships?
Well, Ms. Kwan, as you know, I have said that I remain open-minded to exploring flexibilities where necessary, but the important thing to recall is that we do have a pathway that does allow individuals who are qualified under the family exemption class to come and reunite with their relatives here in Canada. And that is not prohibitive of those same individuals also seeking permanent residency status.
Well, the reality is that many of the people seeking to come and visit are blocked. And in fact, the fact that they have family members here, the closer ties they have, the more likely actually in reality of being rejected. And so the notion of dual intent does not really work in practice because it's still subject to the interpretation of the agent in interpreting that. And so what family members are seeking for the government to do is to suspend the use of Section 179B, or alternatively, or in addition to providing them with a special TRV. I hope that the minister will actually consider that, because it's not working. Dual intent is not working.
I understand, Ms. Kwan, and as I said, we'll keep an open mind. Each case is evaluated on the merits, but I understand your position.
The 14-day processing for extended family reunification that the minister has announced is not being met. In fact, Faces of Advocacy has been updating the minister regularly. As it stands now, they have self-reported over 100 people who are not getting their application processed. From my own office, when we inquire about it, in fact, we were told that the deadline is not going to be met because the system is overwhelmed. The minister's own staff had actually said to a MP office to not bother inquiring because the unit is overwhelmed. What is the minister going to do about this?
Well, first, I would express my gratitude to you and to all of the advocacy groups who have been advancing the cause of family reunification. And as a result, we've created a pathway that has reunited thousands of families, Ms. Kwan, and that's a good thing, and that's notwithstanding the challenges of the pandemic. And where we have complicated cases, including incomplete applications, we work with all members of parliament, including your office, to try and troubleshoot them. Our goal here is to reunite as many families as possible without
Minister.
compromising the health and safety of Canadians.
Minister, I'm just going to interrupt. On the 14-day application issue is not because they are missing documents. In fact, what we learned from IRCC is that they don't even know if the application exists in the system. And so if they don't know, they have no way of expediting or looking into these applications. And when you phone up IRCC, the agent says, look, we're just overwhelmed. Don't phone us. That is the reality. I asked the minister to look into that. On the issue around processing certificate of PRs, we have yet another problem as well, where certificates of PR have expired during this pandemic period and people cannot get it renewed. There's no system from the IRCC agent who's told us that they can deal with this effectively. So consequently, people are stuck in limbo, unable to get to Canada because of this. Will the minister also then address this issue and actually maybe just honor the expired certificate of PR so people can get on with life?
Yeah, Ms. Kwan, you and I are very united in this cause, and that's why we've introduced flexibilities around the COPRs by allowing them to be extended because of the disruption caused by COVID-19. And that's what our plan does, is it seeks to maintain the commitments to continue to grow this country through immigration, including through our express entry and family reunification programs for PR. So we've mitigated, and we will continue to work through those cases where there needs to be work done.
Well, I have 3 constituency cases right now where people's expired PR, certificate of PR is blocking them from getting to Canada. In fact, there's one person who's an essential worker and the employer is a hospital. She's a registered nurse, and the hospital has delayed their start time from November 2nd to December 7th, now to January 4th, only because they cannot get their certificate of PR renewed. I'll contact your office with these cases and hopefully they can get resolved. But hopefully not just these cases, just to honor these certificate of PRs, you can then really move forward. I'm going to move on to another area, postgrad students. International postgrad students' work permit is not renewable, and many of them are expiring or have expired. I believe that the minister has received a petition with 16,000 names on it. And so will the minister take the unprecedented step and extend their work permit as a COVID measure?
Well, we recognize that international students are a group of immigrants that need support. That's why we were very pleased to revive the pathway that allows international students to pursue their education here in conjunction with schools and provinces so that it's done safe and orderly. We're also allowing students who were here before COVID-19 arrived to extend and restore their status. We encourage them to start that process as quickly as possible. I also just want to clarify, Ms. Kwan, that no international student is going to be removed by virtue alone of having an expired visa. We will allow for a period of time for them to restore that status because we recognize that COVID-19 has caused disruption.
This applies to the postgrad students, postgrad international students as well?
It would certainly apply for those postgraduate students who are here, who are endeavoring to secure employment.
Sorry for interrupting. The time is up. We will now move to our second round of questioning. And we have Ms. Dencho. Ms. Dencho, you have 5 minutes. for your round of questioning.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Minister, I just wanted to ask a few questions about your Hong Kong announcement last week. Your officials had said that those work permits and I assume also the accelerated study permits will begin to be available in December. Can you confirm that?
I'm sorry, Ms. Dancho, again, your sound is not coming through very well. I apologize.
Madam Chair, I'm just wondering what I should be doing here. Is there any other option?
I'll stop the clock and Mr. Clerk, if you can look into it. The voice from the floor.
Maybe I could sit some. Maybe it's the microphone.
Our indication is that the audio at our end is fine. I've sent a message to you and to the department on how we might address this moving forward. But as far as we know, there's nothing wrong with Ms. Dancho's microphone.
It was good with Ms. Kwan right now, the 6 minutes before. Ms. Dancho, can you please try again and we will see?
I'm sorry, Ms. Dancho.
Okay, so are we restarting then? It's just that it's only happened to me. So would you mind if we restarted then? I was at 17 seconds.
Yes, please, you can.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So Minister, please let me know if you can. I'm going to try to talk very loudly and we'll see if that works.
I can hear you now.
Okay.
It's not just you. It's happened to me too on translation. So you're not
yes, it's been a bit of a disjointed day for all of us. Okay, so I'm just going to start this again at 5. Okay, so I'm just going to ask you that again. You mentioned regarding your Hong Kong announcement a few weeks ago. Your officials had said that the work permits, and I assume that means also those accelerated study permits are going to be available beginning in December. Can you confirm that that will be the case?
Well, I'll reaffirm that the plan is to begin welcoming eligible applicants under this Hong Kong initiative in early 2021.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so not until January, which is okay. Thank you. So in January, we can expect people will start coming. Great. I wanted to ask.
Just to be clear, early 2021 was my answer, Ms. Dancho.
Early, right. So, maybe not in January, maybe February or March. Okay, so not this year. Understood. Thank you. I wanted to ask you about 200 young pro-democracy activists who were arrested in Hong Kong. Their travel documents were taken. Then they took a boat. They fled Hong Kong and took a boat to Taiwan, which is a 600-kilometer journey by boat. I can't imagine what that must have been like for them. I'm just wondering, my understanding is they wouldn't be eligible for anything that you announced 2 weeks ago. Can you confirm that? Is there anything that we can do for them?
I wouldn't make that assumption, Ms. Dancho. Each of these cases will be evaluated on their merits, and the point of the Hong Kong initiative is to invite an opportunity to bring talent and experience here, which we richly need for our economy.
I completely agree.
I was very pleased to be able to make that announcement.
Thank you, Minister. But my question is, how do we help them? How can we get them a study permit if they don't have access to travel documents to come here? How could they claim asylum if they can't travel here? So I'm just not understanding what we can offer pro-democracy activists that have already fled Hong Kong to Taiwan, because it doesn't seem like we have anything. There's not even a consular access in Taiwan.
Well, I would just clarify that we have, again, one of the best asylum systems, if not the best asylum system.
But they have to get here first, correct?
We have continued to resettle the most urgent cases, notwithstanding the challenges of the pandemic. And as I pointed out, we've added some additional protections to the Hong Kong announcement to ensure that our asylum system upholds human rights.
But is there anything specifically you can think of right now that can be done for those 200 students in Taiwan?
What I would say, Ms. Dancho, is that we are leading the world when it comes to upholding human rights on the strength of an asylum system that has been recognized by the United Nations as being top in class for 2 years in a row.
Okay. Thank you, Minister. We have to move on. I'm really not getting an answer for you, unfortunately, for those students, but we'll try another question. You clearly said a number of times, and in our when we met last week in the China Committee, you'd mentioned that no one charged under the national security law or convicted of, and I quote, attending a peaceful protest, your words, would be barred from coming to Canada, which I think is very good. However, there's a lot of uncertainty there, and it's been discussed in the Globe and Mail and in other national news, the questions that remain therein. So I'm just wondering if your declaration immigration sort of includes these pro-democracy activists. In particular, I'm thinking about Joshua Wong, who was 17 when he started the Umbrella Movement back in 2014. And I'm sure you're aware that just recently he was he pled guilty to the charge of unlawful assembly, which, as you know, is also a law in Canada. This was in a Hong Kong courtroom. He pled guilty and is facing 5 years in prison for a crime that's, again, also a crime in Canada. And so I'm just wondering, what is your Hong Kong announcement going to do for Joshua Wong? Does it include something for Joshua? Is there some way we can help him? I mean, he's exactly the type of person that your announcement should have served, but I'm not clear it will.
Well, Ms. Dancho, we lead the world when it comes to upholding human rights around the world through our asylum system, and each of these cases will be evaluated on its merits. It ensures that people who have the skills, the experience, and the talent to come to Canada and wish to start that next chapter of their life.
Right.
And it certainly does not foreclose those who are seeking a safe harbor in Canada.
So what should Joshua Wong do? What can he apply for? I mean, he might go to jail for 5 years. So is there anything that he can apply for in Canada right now?
Well, I would say, broadly speaking, that the Hong Kong initiative speaks to the opportunities and the strength of the people-to-people ties between Canada and Hong Kong. And everyone.
Thank you, Minister. We'll just have to move on.
This program will have an opportunity.
I'll just have to move on to my final question. The Minister of Foreign Affairs at the Canada-China Committee stated that Chinese Canadians that are subjected to threats or acts of intimidation at home on Canadian soil by Communist Party of China agents should call their local police. I'm just wondering if you, for the committee and those watching, if you can walk us through how the RCMP would handle that and how that comes back to your department. Presumably it would, since many of these are immigration issues.
What I can tell you is that we have an asylum system that is truly the best in the world. That has been recognized.
Sorry for interrupting, Minister. Time is up. Sorry for the interruption. We will now move on to Mr. Reagan. Mr. Reagan, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Mr. Minister, welcome. My understanding is that it's been necessary during the pandemic to have some modernization of the department system, and that in some ways the pandemic has on the one hand shone a light on areas where more work is needed, and on the other hand it's led government to revise or to add to measures that were already underway to develop and update the system, which as large as, of course, as complex as it is. But my question is, what new processes and innovations to alleviate the strain on the system from COVID have brought about the most change that you've seen, and what other methods are you considering to create a more efficient system for this time and for the future?
Well, I thank you for the question, and it allows me to, again, highlight many of the lessons that we've learned throughout COVID-19, including our ability and our capacity to leverage technology and innovation as a means of becoming a more efficient immigration system. And the two that readily come to mind are citizenships ceremonies, which we have moved digitally, and that in no way takes away, I think, from the uniqueness and the special quality of that moment. And it's one of the best functions that I get to exercise as minister, is welcoming aspiring Canadians to our family of citizenship. And we look forward to moving that part of the process that requires testing online as well in very short order. And the other is the process of landing permanent residence. And here in particular, we have taken processes that have been conventionally done exclusively on paper and through in-person meetings, and we are beginning to transition those processes more into digital space and virtual space. And as a result, I'm very confident that going forward, that we will be even more efficient than what we were prior to COVID-19. I think at the end of the day, Mr. Regan, I envision an immigration system that will continue to be lauded as being one of the most efficient and most integrated immigration systems in the world, as the OECD has recognized.
Minister, let me ask you about the issue of consultants. Supplementary estimates has seen an investment of $12.4 million for the initiative that's known as Protecting People from Unscrupulous Consultants that was announced in 2019. Earlier this week, there was an immigration consultant before the committee, a witness who lauded the changes to the profession that this will create, and who this person sees the government's action as a welcome step in helping newcomers. But my question is, when will the new regulatory system for immigration consultants come into effect?
Well, this is one of the mandates that I've been given, and we're moving full speed ahead to ensure that enforcement is there. I will tell you, as a former federal prosecutor, I am always concerned about bringing those predators and those unscrupulous individuals who would seek to take advantage of aspiring Canadians to justice. And that is why we've invested over $51.9 million to protect Canadians from this kind of fraud. It is an issue. It is one that we're moving with great alacrity on, and we will continue to bring those to justice so that Canada continues to be a top destination of choice.
Minister, you spoke earlier about the plan to increase numbers the next few years to make up for this year. I can tell you that Nova Scotia, of course, and as you know, the Halifax area in particular, has been a great example of how immigration is good for our economy. And I think the government has recognized we need more people, especially skilled young people, to overcome the demographic challenges we face as a country. So how do you plan to achieve these objectives?
Well, one, I want to thank you for hosting me and taking me to your community and meeting some of those immigrant business owners. And it is their narrative, it is their stories that I think that drives our agenda of growth through immigration forward. And that's why it's so important that we continue to invest in the Atlantic Immigration Pilot, where we are working so closely with local business owners, I beg your pardon, who are driving solutions. And it is through the collaboration of the AIP that we learn more about where those shortages are, where we learn more about where the economic needs are locally. And this is very important in Atlantic Canada, which is a part of the country that is aging a little bit more rapidly than the rest of the country. And so by having a plan that is focused on economic growth, on partnering with local business owners and chambers of commerce so that we can learn about where those shortages are, I'm confident that we are going to be able to leverage the Atlantic Immigration Pilot so that we are stronger than ever coming out of the pandemic.
Thank you, Minister. I think my time is almost over, Madam Chair. You're muted, Madam Chair.
Sorry, it was 10 seconds.
I think that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Minister. Now we will move on to Madame Normandian. You have 2.5 minutes.
Thank you. I will continue with this issue of shortage of workers. At home, some businesses are slow because they're lacking staff in the low-wage category. I would like to know from the minister, will he refuse to deal with the LMIT because the unemployment rate is too high?
Non, c'est pas correct. Et comme j'avais dit, nous continuons de travailler ensemble avec le gouvernement de Québec pour adresser toutes les pénuries de main-d'œuvre.
The sound from the minister, unfortunately, does not allow for interpretation.
Nous respectons les compétences.
Sorry for interrupting, Minister. We'll have to stop the clock. There is some sound issue. I think translation cannot hear you properly.
Because the minister has AirPods instead of the mic.
Mr. Clerk, what issue the interpreters are having?
They're not receiving audio quality that's high enough, either the clarity or the volume. I'm not sure what we.
It's the AirPods. He's on AirPods.
I can only convey what information I have, but I know that the members and the minister are doing their utmost under the circumstances. I don't want to further delay your proceedings.
Okay, Minister, you can start, please. And speaker maybe a bit louder to try so that interpreters can get your voice.
Not a request I receive very often, Madam Chair.
Point of order, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, point of order.
Yes,
I'm just wondering if some of these problems are because the minister's not wearing sort of that official headset. Does he have that available?
I do, but not on this device.
I'm not sure that's a good excuse, Minister.
I'm certainly endeavoring to be as clear as I can, Ms. Dancho, and I've had the same issue with your microphone, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. So is there nothing we can
Minister,
do?
Minister, you can resume. Please try a bit louder so that we will see the interpreters can get in. Please start. Resume.
OK, on va essayer encore. Non, c'est pas correct. On continuait de travailler ensemble avec le gouvernement de Québec pour adresser tous les pénuries de main-d'œuvre dans l'économie. L'immigration est une des solutions. Et
Sorry for interrupting. There is no interpretation. Mr. Clerk, can they get the voice, the interpreters?
Where the audio quality is not sufficient for interpretation, they might be compelled to suspend service. We know that this is an issue, but unless we have different hardware and can look into that, the issue might persist for the duration of the meeting. I'm following up with the department and we'll do our utmost to provide full support to the members and to the department and to the minister's office to make sure that they have everything they need for future meetings. And I regret the interruptions that this has caused.
We will start again and see if we can get it. Minister, please try again.
I mean, the other option is that I can attempt to answer in English, and if the English translation will come through in French, then we can proceed that way. But I'm in the committee's hands, Madam Chair.
Maybe you can try that if you can speak in English and there's translation happening. Yes, please.
What I was saying, Ms. Normandin, is that I don't agree. We are working very closely with the Quebec government to address labor shortages in those critical parts of the economy where immigration has proven to be a lifeline. And we, at the same time, respect the jurisdiction of Quebec to choose its immigration levels. And we will continue to collaborate with them in this important area.
I understand, Madam Chair, that those work permits applications will continue to be treated.
On the 6,000 requests that were made by myself, how many new agents have been hired or reassigned to these sponsorship cases?
Well, if Ms. Normandin, you're referring to family sponsorship and reunification, we have stood up special teams both for the purposes of the travel exemptions during COVID-19. And as I've said, we've reunited thousands of families, which is good news. And with regards to sponsorship under the permanent residency pathways, we are going to process 49,000 applications by this year's end. My department's been working very hard. This is important work and we will continue with it.
But as it was announced, you announced that there would be an increase of the number of files being treated. This would lead to an increase in staff hiring. How many staff have been hired?
Ensuring that the resources are necessary to continue to accelerate and prioritize family reunification. That is the bottom line commitment that we have made to ensure that we get to 49,000 by this year's end. And not only that, but to continue to do more work on family reunification under our plan for 2021 to 2023. It's work that I'm very proud of.
Do I still have some time left? Right now, the turnaround for citizenship cards is 37 days. What will the department do to speed up the treatment, the processing of these files?
Two of the things that we are doing already is moving our
interrupting. Sorry for interrupting. Now we will move on to Ms. Kwan. Ms. Kwan, you have 2.5 minutes, so you can please start.
Caregivers too have been significantly impacted by COVID. Many of them are not able to fulfill their 24 month work requirement to apply for the PR, and some of their children are now going to age out. So will the minister count the interrupted time towards their 24-month work requirement and freeze the age of their children so that they can still apply for their PR as a family unit?
Well, as I've said in the past, Ms. Kwan, and as you know, we have endeavored to introduce policy flexibility to minimize the disruption of COVID-19 so that it does not count against those applicants who are endeavoring to become permanent residency. We will continue to ensure that we take that principle and apply it to the caregiver program. Their work experience does not have to be consecutive. I would just clarify that as well.
I know that, but still, because they've basically lost a year, that is a significant impact. So even if the government allows for them to take 3 years to meet their 24-month work requirement, the impact is still there, is still felt. I'm just saying that they should not be penalized through no fault of their own because of the COVID. So I urge the minister to consider counting that interrupted time and also freezing the age of their children so that they don't age out. On a different question, processing of PR, my constituents urgently need their PR card renewed so they can visit a dying mother, in another case, a grandparent. But we found that the processing time is 3 weeks, and IRCC is now only opening packages back from February 10th. And even if they get their package open, they would only consider urgent processing if the person has bought a urgent ticket, which is hugely problematic on two fronts. So what can the minister do about this situation?
Well, as I said, continue to make progress by adding resources and leveraging technology and streamlining our processes. We have made quantum leaps, Ms. Kwan. When it comes to landing PRs, we will endeavor to continue making progress to make up for the
this
disruptions
is renewal of PR. Sorry, this is renewal of PR. Will the minister ask their staff to consider processing urgent applications without having them buy a ticket, and so that they can, in fact, get their application processed and visit their dying family members?
Certainly, we are looking at every option to minimize that disruption. And for those who are trying to get here for a tragic event like a funeral or an end of life event, we also have the compassionate cases pathway as well.
No, sorry, it's the other way around.
Sorry for interrupting. Time is up. Sorry for interrupting, Ms. Kwan. Time is up. Minister, we had some disruptions. Are you okay to stay for 10 minutes so that we can finish the second round?
Of course. Yes, I'm happy to do that.
Okay. So thank you, Minister, for giving us time. We will now go to Mr. Hallan. Mr. Hallan, you have 5 minutes. And then we will end with Mr. Dhaliwal.
You want to take one? No.
Mr. Hallan, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Minister, for coming today. I'd like to do my first round of questions just based on some of the PR questions that we get in our offices. Throughout this entire pandemic, we've seen what some may call low skill, which we know that all work has dignity behind it, such as the truck drivers who have been risking their lives and providing life-saving supplies to everyone from coast to coast. What we're not seeing is a pathway for them to PR. Is there something that you or is there something we can do for those people that we can provide a pathway for them to PR?
Well, thank you, Mr. Hallan, for the question. And as part of the immigration plan, which I tabled a little more than 2 weeks ago, I have said that we will continue to grow through immigration. As well, I believe we have a unique opportunity to look at the workers and students and asylum seekers who are already in Canada, whose status may be temporary, as you point out, but whose contributions are lasting. And I think we are at a moment where it behooves us to determine whether or not there are ways to broaden the pathway and accelerate the pathway for those workers who are contributing in essential parts of our economy so that Canadians get all of the support they need through COVID-19.
Thank you, Minister. And, we've heard from witnesses and in my eyes, these seem like this is very low-hanging fruit. These people, like you said, have been contributing to Canadian economy. They pay taxes. They've contributed in many, many different ways. And when we're looking at trying to meet the quotas, would it not make sense to let's target on the low-hanging fruit first and give them a good pathway?
I think we are and the skill set within our borders and draw from a range of different skills. And that is going to be very much part of the exercise of reaching the goals which have been set out in our immigration plan. And certainly the way that I envision this exercise unfolding is by looking at those parts of the economy and our workforce where we are in dire need. For example, in the healthcare sector, where our doctors, our nurses, our pharmacists, our support workers have been working flat out to try and treat Canadians. I think we can take a look at that area, see whether or not we have workers and students and asylum seekers, as we have already done, and determine whether or not we can accelerate their pathway to being permanent residents. I believe Canadians in those circumstances will broadly embrace that idea.
Moving on to grandparents and parent sponsorship, we know that there was a delay that happened right before the pandemic even happened. And essentially what we saw was a lottery system that was the exact same thing that came out. Right now, I'm getting a ton of questions from my constituents and people from all across about if you can answer about the transparency behind this program. And there's just so many questions behind criteria and when will they get some answers? And how many numbers do you guys have so far?
Well, I appreciate the question. It allows me to highlight just how unique and one of a kind the parent and grandparent program is around the world, a program that contributes to our already historic work on family reunification. I'm also proud of the fact, Mr. Holland, that we have been able to keep this program going, notwithstanding COVID-19. And as a result, we have 40,000 allocated spaces over the next 2 years, the greatest number over that period
But
of
Minister,
time.
do we have any timelines around that? Like most of the anxiety around the people that are constantly messaging me and calling me are based on there's no timeline. We don't know what's going on right now. It was closed weeks ago, but we just don't know what's going on right now. There's no transparency.
Well, our intention is to begin to ensure that people are made aware, but it is important that we continue to reunite families, and the parent and grandparent program and the 40,000 allocated spaces over the next 2 years is a demonstration of our commitment to bring as many loved ones together throughout the pandemic.
I'd like to defer my last question to Ms. Dancho.
Madam Chair, can you confirm how much time we have left?
31 seconds.
Okay, Minister, I just want to confirm what the process is. If someone is being intimidated by a Chinese communist operative on Canadian soil, if a Chinese Canadian is being intimidated, they report to the local police. What happens after that concerning your department? I want you to be clear on this.
Well, first, if there's a complaint lodged with law enforcement, it will be up to law enforcement to investigate. And regarding any other issues regarding immigration, we work very closely with the public safety enforcement agencies to ensure that all national security issues are addressed.
Sorry for interrupting. Time is up. We will now move on to Mr. Dhaliwal. Mr. Dhaliwal, you have 5 minutes, and that will end the round with the minister.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to thank the minister and the officials for the hard work that they do even during these pandemic situations. Minister, I want to commend you for another thing, cleaning the mess that Conservatives left. Particularly if we look at the waiting times for the parents and grandparents class, it took almost 7 years under Conservatives, and now it came down to 2 years. On the spousal case, it was taking more than 2 years, and you brought down under 1 year. And not only that, Minister, in fact, when I look at the number of applications that you accepted or your department accepted, 4 times more than what Conservatives were accepting, 5,000 versus 30,000 next year. And this credit to you, Minister, on that. Minister, I also want to, in fact, echo Mr. Holland's idea on the low-skilled positions. Not only the truck drivers, in fact, also the frontline workers, the tradespeople, and many other trades. And I would love to see you and your department find a way for these temporary workers to obtain a pathway to permanent residency, even though in 2019, 74,586 out of 340,000 permanent immigrants were temporary workers. On the other question, Minister, I have for you is just last week, I had the opportunity to meet with members of United Refugee Council Canada and heard their concerns on behalf of refugees that have been in Canada for many, many years. And many of them are working in frontline, food processing, truck industry, and healthcare. And all those refugees also can speak English and French very fluently. I would like to see you find a path for them to become temporary worker stays, and then from temporary worker stays, ultimately towards a path to permanent residence. And would you see if it can be done?
We can't hear you, Minister. I think you are on mute. We can't hear you, Minister. No, we can't hear you. Sorry. We can't hear any voice. Are you hearing us? Mr. Clerk, is it from anything from our end or from ministers?
We understand that the audio on our end is fine. It might be the battery at his end.
No, we can't hear you. Is it the battery from your end, the clerk is saying, Minister?
I'm sorry, Madam Chair. I'm limited from where I am here to further assist. I regret this.
Madam Chair, maybe we can add something in the chat box. If he maybe, I don't know, maybe he can't hear us either. Maybe send him a message.
Madam Chair, can one of the Liberal MPs call the minister and ask him if his battery is the problem? I mean, can somebody do something about this, please?
Yeah. Let me find out. Minister can't hear us also, so he will disconnect and then connect back. So we will just do the last try, otherwise then we will proceed.
Madame la Présidente, pendant qu'on attend, j'aimerais suggérer...
Madam Chair, while we're waiting, might I suggest that they might vote on one of the motions? We could ask the Minister for, at his next meeting, to be either in person or to use the headset that has been approved and provided by the House.
Vote we will do at the end after we hear. Just have a quick let him log, otherwise then we will look into another option. He's logging in, let's see.
Hello?
Hello, yes, we can hear you.
Eureka. Madam Chair, this is wonderful to be back.
So did you hear Suk's question or?
Unfortunately, I caught just the first part of it and did not hear the tail end. But if you'd like, you can summarize, and then I'm happy to respond.
Okay, Suk, if you can quickly summarize so that you are on mute, Suk.
Okay, sorry, Minister. I basically on the question part, I said I echo just Raj's comment, not limiting only to the truck drivers. In fact, there are many frontline workers, tradespeople, and the transport industry. They provide valuable services, and see if you can help those temporary workers to obtain a pathway to permanent residency, even though in 2019, there were 22% of the permanent immigration came through temporary stream. And the second question I asked was, just last week I had the opportunity to meet with members of United Refugee Council Canada, along with Anju Dillon, and heard their concerns on behalf of the refugees that have been in Canada for many years. And many of them are working in frontline, food processing, healthcare, transport, and they can speak French and English fluently. And I would like to see if you and your department can find a pathway from a refugee asylum seeker to temporary worker stage and to ultimately a path to permanent residency.
Thank you, Mr. Dhaliwal, and for your advocacy. Thank you for your advocacy as well. And as I've said, we have this very, we're at a very critical moment where we can look at many groups within Canada as a result of the measures that we've had to take at the border throughout the pandemic to see for those who are contributing to COVID-19 in the essential sectors and whether or not there's a way to accelerate their pathway to becoming permanent residents. That includes workers, students, and as you pointed out, asylum seekers. And I know that your advocacy has been instrumental in putting forward some of these proposals. I look forward to working with you, all of the members of the House, on continuing to ensure that immigration will drive our economic recovery coming out of the pandemic and our long-term prosperity.
Thank you. Madam Chair, do I have a few more minutes?
Yes, 1.5 minutes, please.
Okay, thank you. Minister, again, as I commended your work on the PGP stream, and the 30,000 application that you're going to take next year, are you going to see a different stream that will satisfy a lot of people that have issues with the lottery system?
As you know, the parent and grandparent program is an important demonstration of our government's commitment to reuniting families. 40,000 spaces over the next 2 years, the most ever for that period of time. I know there are questions sometimes raised about the way in which we receive expressions of interest. As I've said, I've always kept an open mind to ensure that we are creating a level playing field for what is a very popular, high in demand route or pathway to reuniting families. I look forward to working with you and all members on this issue.
Thank you. Thank you, Minister, again, for all the great work that you have done and the mess that you have cleaned the Conservatives left behind.
Thank you, Mr. Dhaliwal.
Thank you, Minister. Thanks to sorry for all those issues which we had from our end or your end. So we'll make sure that we look into those next time. And,
Madam Chair, point of order.
Yes, please.
I think we should have a bit of a discussion. The next time the minister comes to committee that he has the proper equipment, can he commit to that? Maybe that'll resolve some of these problems, but otherwise I don't really know what we're all doing here if we're not going to have the equipment that we're being sent. I know it's not pleasant to wear, but we all commit to wearing it when we're doing virtual parliament, and yet the minister has come unprepared, and I suspect that's part of the problem. So can he commit to the next time he comes in December to having proper equipment?
Ms. Dancho, I've used this equipment to appear before committee. It's worked reliably up until today, but of course, I'm always prepared to work with you and all members of the House to ensure that we can have a good conversation as we did today, and I thank you for your questions.
Thank you, Minister. With this, we will end this panel and we will suspend for a minute so that we allow the officials to be with us in the second panel. And if there is any sound check to be done, the clerk can do that. Thank you, Minister, on behalf of all the committee members. Thanks a lot for appearing before the committee.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. we will move into the round of questioning, and we will start with Ms. Dencho. Ms. Dencho, you have 6 minutes for your round of questioning. Please start.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you to the officials for being with us today. I have a question about expired COPRs. I know all members of Parliament, I'm sure, are getting bombarded with this. I know myself, the NDP and the Bloc have mentioned this as well, but I want to know how this is working. So my understanding is there were permanent residents approved. They've sold their homes, sold their businesses, bought their plane tickets, were scheduled to come to the country, then the borders closed. Now they've been in their home countries. They've been stranded since the borders closed in March, and their PRs have since expired. And my understanding is all that needs to be done, or not all, but what could be done, is the Minister's office and the Department of Immigration can provide an authorization letter to these expired PRs. Is that correct?
If I may, Madam Chair, just to back up slightly, with many who have expired COPRs or COPRs, they are authorized to travel, that these were issued before March 18th, and for many reasons, they have chosen not to travel and not to come, and including conditions at home. So now COPRs have expired, and we are working to find a way to unexpire, to put them back in validity. So we've worked through two populations. We've worked first through families who are in this situation, and now we're working through the economic class who find themselves in this situation, because we would very much like them to land.
Deputy Minister, but I don't necessarily agree. My understanding from those who have contacted me is it's not been up to them. They have wanted to come here since March, but they need an authorization letter or something of that nature, is what we're being told. Because if they didn't need a certain paperwork from your department and from the minister, they would be already here. But they're stranded in their country of origin with no home, running out of savings. I'm not clear why there's nothing being done for them.
Well, there's lots being done. And so typically confirmation of permanent residence is valid for about 12 months. There are some changes, but it's about 12 months. And those have expired. And so what we're doing now is a process there. We go back through individually to reach out, to contact people, and to issue additional letters so that people can travel and people can come.
My understanding, though, and just I don't mean to beat around, like to keep hammering on this, but my understanding is that they do need this authorization letter, and they're not receiving it from you. And it's been 9 months. So I'm just wondering what the holdup. You're saying you prioritize families before singles. Is that what you're saying?
Well, the issue with expired confirmation of permanent residence, they haven't all expired at the same time. And so we're working our way through. One of the things that we've done is to find a pathway that we can issue a new letter, reissue things inside of our global case management system so that people can arrive at the border and be welcome to Canada, which is what we want. And so now we've had to go back through this. We haven't really dealt with expired COPRs before. And so when we did it, we're reaching out individually. It's a pretty labor-intensive process. We're making sure that people still intend to travel, because some people who've let their confirmations expire do not intend to travel for a variety of reasons. But for those who do, we want to be able to turn that back on and issue the letter and move it through. So we've been moving through them since September, and I'm just going to double check with Mr. Mills on that.
I see nodding. Yeah. And sorry, just to confirm, you mentioned that you were first focusing on families and then now others. Are you focusing by region at all? Is there any specific areas of the world that you're looking at first and others that you're not?
No, I'll double check with Mr. Mills on that, but no, we're going through them. I think really in order of how the files have come to us.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. I'm going to just switch topics here to adoption quickly with my last few minutes. I'm sure you're very familiar with the Muth family and the Thiessen family, and there's a number of other families that were really caught in the middle of this pandemic. They were stranded abroad when they were trying to adopt children. in Africa, so to speak. And I'm just wondering, what we've heard from these individuals is that they felt abandoned by their government. I know the Muth family was there. They just got home now. They were there since, I believe, since December, so it was nearly a year. And they hadn't heard anything for 6 months. They had to have a media campaign. They had to have an email campaign. Same with the Thesons, who were not quite as badly off as the Muths, but still at the same time did not hear for months. And I'm just wondering if your department, given what's happened with this pandemic, is planning to do a comprehensive review of how Canadian parents are treated when they go abroad to adopt their children, because we're hearing that couples in the Netherlands received documentation much quicker, and we're in a very similar situation with border closures, and yet they were able to return to the Netherlands very quickly. So, are you considering doing a comprehensive review of how you treat adoptive parents?
Madam Chair, thanks for this question. International adoptions are a complicated business because so much depends on the host country. And the member is right. It is causing us to look at how we work through our business and what we do. And I hope that we can continue to do things a little more smoothly.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. My understanding, just to conclude, Madam Chair, my understanding, though, was that they were really, there was no confirmation, no communication from the Canadian government to them in about a year. So I don't think that that's a foreign problem, but thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dencho. Now we will move on to MP Surrey. MP Surrey, you have 6 minutes.
Merci, Madame la Présidente, puis merci aux officiels pour leur travail. Je sais que vous travaillez.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the appearance of these witnesses. I know that you're working very diligently for improving and maintaining our immigration system. Canadians are very proud of their system. We've heard a question from Collège Boreal College, and other Francophone areas who are having difficulty in reaching their targets. Immigration-wise,
on the screen?
Okay. Yeah, I'm in French.
Okay. Please start and we can see.
Bon, allez-y. Okay, great. My question is on Francophone immigration. Is there anything that we can do collectively as a country to improve and increase the targets of people who are coming from Francophone countries, Africa or elsewhere? What can the government do to ensure that we have Francophone-speaking arrivals in Canada, and then they're willing to settle anywhere in Canada? Thank you. I come from New Brunswick, and I appreciate your question. Is there a problem? No, go ahead. We've made some changes to our rapid entry system, Rapid Express. We've tried to establish some contacts with Francophone or bilingual individuals.
Coming through, particularly international students who've come through Canadian institutions. And those additional points, I think, will really help raise their point score within Express Entry and to let them land, let them become permanent residents in Canada.
Well, for the part of students, international students, postdoc or not, what can we do? What can we do better to ensure that these students stay here or might have a pathway to permanent residency here in Canada? Thank you once again for your question.
With the opportunity that 401,000 target brings for us for next year. I think there are many things we can look at with respect to students in terms of pathways to permanent residence and what we'll want to do. We're analyzing those right now, but I'll just remind that 25% of those economic immigrants who landed last year have been here as international students or had student experience, Canadian student experience, and I think that's really positive. The other, if I may, Madam Chair, is just the tremendous work that we have done to try and make sure that students can continue to study in Canada and that time continues to count to the post-graduation work permit. So we work very closely with colleges and universities and with provinces and territories to find ways around this that we can still maintain Canada as the destination of choice for international students.
Thank you. Can you talk a bit about the process on the provincial nominee program? For example, in Ontario, roughly, I think 6,700 positions or placement. But in Northern Ontario, we get like 50. We get very few from the provincial nominee. And thus that we set up a national pilot project for immigration in rural areas. And I want to thank the officials for doing that quickly in the last year or so. But can you comment on the provincial nominee program and some of the limitations that we have on that, and then the comments on the provincial and then the rural immigration? How can we expand that program?
Madam Chair, thank you for that. The provincial nominee programs continue to work really well, and in this time, in this COVID time, where processing has been challenging and where a border has been closed, we are over processing, so to speak, around provincial nominee programs, and I'm happy to see those numbers and to see how it's working. But I believe the member is correct in that in many cases the provincial nominee programs still create some problems with moving more immigrants and new Canadians out to rural communities and out to smaller centers. And so the new pilots that we have in place, we're really pleased. The first results are starting to come in now. We have a lot of experience with the Atlantic pilot. The first results under the rural and northern pilot are starting to come in, and they're very promising. And the next one to come will be the municipal nominee program. So we spent this period consulting and working with municipalities and PTs, and I'm optimistic that we should be able to launch something soon and to work with municipalities to have this up and running.
Thank you for all the work you do, and I believe my time is up. Merci beaucoup. Madam Chair, you're on mute.
Thank you, MP Surrey. We will now move on to Madame Normandien. Madame Normandien, you have 6 minutes. Floor is yours.
Merci beaucoup, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thanks to the witnesses who are here. I hope I get clearer answers than I did in my previous answers, but I'd like to, there's a directive right now on the website, on the government's website. If you're looking for a work permit for hospitality sector as a temporary worker, you may not be, in fact, have your application looked at. Is this correct?
Madam Chair, I'm going to ask just answer that. Okay.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, for the question. In the COVID context, we are triaging how we are looking at the work permit applications. And starting obviously with health and other essential services, it doesn't mean that other work permits are not being looked at, but there is a triage in the pandemic context.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. My second question deals with the CIMM 0006. We're about 14 working days. Now it's 21 days. And when we call the offices of the immigration office, they have no access to the files. They're not literally, physically in their offices. Will this situation be resolved soon?
Merci pour la question.
Thank you for your question.
14 days. So I am sorry for any confusion that has been relayed to you on the part of the call center. We are pleased that we have the service standard back within the 14 days. I think it's 11 days and 8 days, depending on which category we're looking at. We have had to create a special program to do this. We've received about 50,000 email inquiries or email applications for family reunification. Not each of those represents a specific case, but each of them needs to be looked at and examined. And for us, part of the problem or part of the opportunity that this provides is a lot of them deal with U.S. clients, which typically are not clients that come into the global case management system. And so we've had to stand up something special to be able to do this. But we now have close to 100 people working on this, 100 decision makers working on this. We have increased overtime considerably around this to make sure that those service standards stay within the time.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. My next question is quite specific. If you do not have the answer today, you could provide a written response later on. If I'm looking at the statistic for 2019, every month, 20,000 applications for permanent residency was being treated for the economic sector, including qualified workers in Quebec. In April, we went from 20,000 to 1,000. Then it improved in May. We went back to 6,000, and then in June, 10,000, and then again back down to 2,000. So why did we stop processing those applications for qualified workers?
Merci.
Thank you for the question. I might ask Mr. Mills to answer. Thank you, Madam Chair, for the question. So to answer the question, we have not stopped processing the requests from Quebec, but when we resumed operations in May and June, there were a lot of files that were ready to be finalized because before the pandemic, we were processing a lot of applications. So several applications were at the last stage of the processing process. So when we resumed our operations, excuse me, Madam Chair? So when we resumed our operations, we were able to finalize those files, and this is why there was a big increase at the beginning in the numbers. And then, because we have limited resources, as you know, in the summer, people went back to work, and a lot of files are paper files. So we were also limited by the number of people that could go into the offices. So there was a drop in productivity levels, but all Quebec files are being processed at the same speed as fast as we can. Thank you. Some employees were not able to go back to work, and I believe that some commissioners were not able to hear cases until July or August. But since these employees received full compensation or full salary, did we ask staff to use their time off or sick days during the pandemic? Thank you for the question.
To the Immigration and Refugee Board, it's arm's length from IRCC, so I'll leave that for another time when you have Mr. Wex before you. From our own perspective, we have worked hard to make sure that employees are equipped and able
Sorry
to...
for interrupting, Madame Taple. Like your time is up, so we will have to move on to Ms. Kwan now. Ms. Kwan, you have 6 minutes. You can please start.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. First, I wonder if the deputy can advise, have all the offices locally and abroad resumed their operations, and which offices are not operating at their capacity prior to the pandemic?
I'll start. Thanks for the question. I'll start domestically in Canada. All our offices have resumed operations, but as you can imagine, it fluctuates up and down, and we don't all have in-person capacity at the same level pre-pandemic. So perhaps Vancouver, for example, we're at about 30% capacity of people working in the office. The rest have now been equipped to work from home, and we're working through that. We've resumed some of our in-person services, but just this week we've had to make some changes and adjust our protocols for those that have now moved within critical zones. So for employees working in our Mississauga office or working in Calgary or Edmonton, we've now had to reduce our footprint for in-person offices that are there.
I wonder, perhaps the deputy can provide a list for to the committee so that we know what offices at what capacity doing what and who's working at home and who's working at the office. Thank you. Part of the issue, of course, is that the applications needs to be taken from the mailroom and then inputted into the system. Is there a dedicated stream of people who's doing that work for all the different mail rooms?
The short answer is yes. The longer answer is, boy, would I ever love a system that was able to digitize files so that we could move them around more quickly. But we have people back in. We are moving through the accumulated files that have been there that are paper-based files. We have also reached out to add some additional capacity by a third party to help us sort of PDFify or digitize those files so that we can move them around the network more seamlessly, and we can also work on them from home.
Thank you. I want to follow up on my question to the minister on the expire PR cards. He seemed not to understand my question. And my situation is that where people's expire PR card is not being renewed and they're here in Canada, they need to go visit loved ones who are who are dying and very ill, and they're not able to get their PR card renewed, and they're reluctant to leave the country for obvious reasons. And there seems to not be an ability to process these applications quickly. There's no urgent processing because they can't get through the mailroom. And even if they do, they are told, my constituents have been told that they have to have a plane ticket in order to get their application expedited. What can we do about this?
I am happy to look into this, Madam Chair, and the issue around a plane ticket. The member is correct. This is one of those cases. These are paper applications. They're in Sydney. We're trying to work through them as quickly as we can. And we will certainly look into the issue of people being told about the plane ticket. Mr. Mills, do you want to add?
Non, merci, Madame Chair. Ce que je peux peut-être juste...
What I could add, perhaps, is that we have dedicated resources for this business line, but as the Deputy Minister mentioned, this is all for paper files, and this is all being done in Sydney, Nova Scotia. And other business lines are also a priority, and we had to adjust our work.
These cases because people cannot buy a ticket because it's very expensive, and now they can't get refunds. As we know, when they don't get their thing, they can't travel, they don't get refunds, and that's a huge problem at this time. I want to quickly go to post-grad students. Is the minister saying that people with post-grad work permits that's expiring will have implied status or have their work permit renewed? Because they're not allowed to be renewed. Is the minister saying that they are now able to be renewed because of a COVID measure?
I guess it's one step at a time with students. And so we've worked our way through making sure that you're still eligible for your time overseas to be included with a postgraduate work permit. We've worked through designated learning institutions. We've now at a point where we can welcome students back into the country with appropriate plans on the other side. So the next step will be some of the issues that are now coming up on postgraduate work permits which are expiring. People have been affected by the pandemic and not be able to work as much as they would have liked or in their chosen profession. And that's a problem that we're examining now.
Okay, so then is the deputy saying that the minister suggesting that they will not have their status expire is incorrect? What does it mean?
Well, I think what the minister said, and perhaps I misunderstood, Ms. Kwan, but I think what the minister said is that some type of implied status will be there while we work our way through what's the most appropriate way to look at this problem. Is it to extend the work permit? How big is it? Just as we're able to put things around it.
So those with expired work permits will not be deported. They will not lose their status. So they can just stay here and wait until the government sort it out and to see about extending their work permit. These are for post-grad international students.
Sorry for interrupting. The time is up.
Sorry, can I just get a quick answer on that? Yes or no?
Please. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
I can't hear you, Madam Chair. Sorry.
With this, the first round comes to an end. Based on the time we have left, we have to vote in the end and a little committee business. We can have 2 minutes for each party. So we can start with Mr. Soraya, and then each member will have 2 minutes. So Mr. Soraya, Martinez Farada, Madam Normandian, and Madam Kwan. So we can start with Mr. Soraya, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to the panel. Deputy Minister, this is the typical day. Two people I seen on the decision making on the Immigration Department. One of them is working here. The security is checked, everything is checked. The decision is still waiting for the number of months. The second one was a parents-sponsored case going back to 2013. The whole thing is done. What I understand, calling your office and calling the immigration office, when will these decisions will be made for these people? This is the typical day for us on the front line here.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think it depends on a number of circumstances. And so one is we've tried to put a priority on processing for those either who are here or who can land. And so if cases were approved before March 18th, to have them come here on March 18th, whether people are in Canada and are able to stay in Canada, those have tended to be the priorities that we placed, whether it's on family or whether it's on economic.
Those people, the file sitting since 2013, I'm not sure what to tell them. Anything you can advise me, I can tell them. It's the parents' application.
If it's a parent's application, I'm very sorry to hear that it's been sitting since 2013.
Yes.
There may be an issue around a specific case, and we are happy to follow up on that.
Okay. The question number two, this is for the provincial nomination program. Number of people, number of employers are here. You know, in especially in Ontario, every restaurant, every transportation agency, Ubers, you name it is done by the students and the temporary foreign workers. Is there anything in the real life? There is anything you, department, and immigration can do to get them some path for the citizenship?
This is an interesting question, and the
Sorry
opportunity.
for interrupting. The time is up. Maybe I will have to move on to the next person. Now we will have Madame Martinez Farada. Madame Martinez Farada, you have 2 minutes.
Oui, merci, Madame la.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you to the departmental officials. Thank you for all the work you have done since the beginning of the pandemic. It must have been really hard for the operations sector. I have 2 questions. First, could you send us the record? Well, in 2019, there was a report on family reunification, and it was the highest number that we had, so about 91,000. I was wondering if you could send us a report on the last 5 years to see how this situation has evolved. And then I would like to go back to the operations. You talked about digitalizing the files and modernizing the files, and I would like to hear you about how important it is for the future.
Mr. Soraya, you're not in.
Mr.
Thank you. Merci, Madame.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair. I would be happy to send these statistics to the committee. And for the second question, thank you for the question, actually.
System, and that's the global case management system. And it served us well. In 2019, we managed to hit records in all our categories. However, it's a system that was built when VHS was cutting edge technology and we're in a Netflix world. And what the pandemic has shown us is that when you have digital files, so part of our operations are digital,
Sorry for
a lot in the
interrupting.
temporary.
The time is up. Sorry for the interruptions. We will now move to Madame Normandin. Madame Normandin, you have 2 minutes.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. And first, I'd like to thank you very much for the clarity that you're giving your answers. We have several individuals have approached us, parliamentarians, so they're having trouble getting any contact with your offices. They're particularly students. What could you do about biometrics when they get here rather than prior to departure?
Merci encore.
Thank you once again for the question.
It's important that biometrics are done and are used as something to confirm identity. And that's important that that happens before people come to the country. And so that we use this as a security feature. However, I understand the frustration we understand well the frustrations because many of our visa application centers have been closed. So I'm happy to say that most of them have reopened. This week has been important because centers in India, visa application centers in India have reopened this week, and this is a big deal. And so students in India will be, there will be 2 priorities. One is for students, the other will be for family. And to be able to work through the biometrics in India in those 2 in our visa application centers so we can complete those applications.
Merci. Je prends une chance peut-être pour une autre question. On a des...
I'll take a chance on another question. Somebody has told me I haven't been reimbursed for my temporary workers' certificate costs, lawnscaping, but there's no more lawns to cut right now. We're under snow. So what of these reimbursement for costs for temporary foreign workers?
Je ne suis pas certaine, Madame la Présidente.
I'm not quite sure, Madam Chair. I think this is a matter that deals with the ESCT department.
We will now move on to our last round of questioning. Ms. Khan, you have 2 minutes for your round of questioning.
Thank you. I'd like to go back to the issue of the certificate of PR. The deputy said that there's a system in place. Our experience so far is that whenever we phone about a case like this, we get contradictory information. Sometimes we're told to go through this process. Other times we're told to go through a different process. Now, according to the Toronto Star, quote, according to Immigration Department spokesperson, 15,786 applicants who received their visas before March 19th have had their documents expired as of the end of October. And about 2,700 principal applicants filled out the web form and more than 120 received authorization. As you can see, how this is indeed very labor intensive. The person has to contact IRCC and sometimes after several web forms before anybody responds to them to try and get their certificate of PR renewed and to get that authorization letter happening. What about giving yourself a break and actually moving forward the process in giving people a letter automatically? If they don't need it, they won't use it. And it doesn't harm the system. And so that people can, in fact, get through quickly with the authorization so that they can come to Canada. Is that being considered?
Well, first I just say we flipped it on its head. And so instead of, as you have described, or Madam Chair, as the member has described, we flipped it on its head. And so now we're reaching out to contact people individually. And so to ascertain whether or not they want to come, to issue the letters and to work through the problem that way. So on this point, it may be frustrating that it's taking us a few weeks to do this, but I think in the end it's probably better client service. And I think it's probably better for the Canada Border Services Agency as well, just in terms of having that certainty. Mr. Mills, do you want to comment as well?
Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, indeed. We have contacted people individually, directly, and we're looking at the strategy to see if those who we have 7,000 more people to reach. And we'd like to see if we have a strategy that's a little bit more proactive to communicate with them, either email.
So it's less labor intensive
So,
and
Ms.
more
Kwan, the
efficient
time is
to
up.
scare resources.
Yeah. Sorry, the time is up. If there are any clarifications, Madam Deputy Minister, you or your officials would like to provide, you can provide us after the meeting. With this, our second panel comes to an end, and we will have to go into to vote for the estimates, main estimates and the supplementary estimates. I want to thank all our officials for appearing before the committee today, and on behalf of all the members, I want to thank you for all the hard work which you have always been doing, but especially during this pandemic. I know you have been working very hard to make sure that you can serve the needs of all the Canadians and those who are planning to come to Canada as new immigrants. So thank you to all the officials. And we will now have to vote on the main estimates and the supplementary estimates B for 2020-21. Shall vote 1 under Department of Citizenship and Immigration be carried? This is for the main estimates 2020-21. Shall vote 1 under Department of Citizenship and Immigration be carried?
Madam Chair, we vote on division.
Mr. Clerk, is that fine? Vote on.
Yes, on division. I've recorded that.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Shall vote 5 under Department of Citizenship and Immigration be carried? Carried. Shall vote 10 under Department of Citizenship and Immigration.
Sorry, Madam Chair. Sorry, the last vote we're on division. The Conservatives.
Okay. Vote 5 under Department of Citizenship and Immigration carried on division. Shall vote 10 under Department of Citizenship and Immigration be carried?
For all votes. Can we just say that?
Mr. Clerk, any?
So far, I've recorded that all of the votes thus far have been carried on division. We still have vote 1 under Immigration and Refugee Board, I believe.
Shall vote 1 under Immigration and Refugee Board be carried?
On division, Madam Chair.
Okay. Vote 1 under Immigration and Refugee Board carried with division. Now
Sorry,
we will.
Madam Chair, it's Anju. Can you see me?
Yes, we can see you.
Okay. I was told, okay, thank you.
Yeah, no, we can see you. Now we will move on to the voting on the supplementary estimates B for 2020-21. Shall vote 1B under Department of Citizenship and Immigration be carried?
On division, Madam Chair.
Okay, carried under on division. Shall vote 5B under Department of Citizenship and Immigration be carried?
On division, Madam Chair.
Vote 5 under Department of Citizenship and Immigration is carried on division. Shall vote 10B under Department of Citizenship and Immigration be carried?
On division, Madam Chair.
Vote 10B under Department of Citizenship and Immigration carried on division. Shall vote 1B under Immigration and Refugee Board be carried?
On division, Madam Chair.
Vote 1B under Immigration and Refugee Board is carried on division. So with that, we come to an end for voting. we will now move into committee business. For a few minutes, I wanted to have members' input on the meeting for the next week. So the officials can leave. Thank you once again, and hope to see you sometimes soon. We will now move on to committee business. Mr. Clerk, are we okay to move on to committee business?
Yes, by all means, but you might, if you could ask if the committee wishes for you to report the main and supplementary estimates to the House, that would be helpful for our record, please.
Okay, thank you. Would the committee like me to take them, move to move the voting on the mains and the estimates to the House? Okay, thank you. We'll do that. Thank you. Now we'll go to committee business. As all the members know that the fiscal update will be on Monday, November 30th at 4 p.m. And our committee also happens at that time. So I wanted to have everyone's input on whether we can, all of you want me to proceed with scheduling the meeting on November 30th, or the members would like to attend the fiscal update and that we should not have the meeting. Rescheduling that meeting would not be possible because it doesn't seem that we have more spots available that we can reschedule the meeting at some other time. So any discussion, any input from the members, I will go as the members, majority of the members wish to do. Any discussion?
Madam Chair, I just have a question.
Yes, Ms.
Can you confirm that we have witnesses for Monday? My understanding was there were some issues with witnesses on Monday.
We have scheduled the witnesses. I can ask Mr. Clerk to please clarify.
The committee has confirmed 6 witnesses and is in the process of confirming a 7th for November 30th.
Madam Chair, if I may just add, I think if we have 6 witnesses confirmed and we're not able to reschedule that meeting, it would not be polite or respectful to those witnesses. So just under that, I believe we should have that meeting on Monday. But again, I'm open for discussion, but those are my 2 cents.
Open for discussion. Anyone wants to say anything further on that? Thank you, Ms. Danjo, for your input.
Madam Chair, I think Madam Kwan has her hand raised for quite a while.
Madam Kwan, sorry, I didn't see you. Madam Kwan.
No worries. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Just to offer my thoughts, I understand that on the one hand, it would be good to be able to listen to the economic update, but on the other hand, we also have a lot of work before committee. And so, if there's no way to reschedule the meeting, either by way of finding another date to replace this committee meeting or to add on hours to existing meetings, to lengthen existing meetings to make up for this time, I would be very reluctant to cancel the meeting just because we have so much work ahead of us. And then of course, as Ms. Danchel had indicated, witnesses have already been lined up. So I think that would be a challenge as well. So if there's no way to reschedule, then I would not want to see us cancel the meeting.
Mr. Ellison, you wanted to say something?
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Normally, I would say if there's a fiscal update, we should probably attend that. But given the fact, I'm going to agree with Ms. Kwan and Ms. Danko that if we already have witnesses scheduled, then I would be inclined to hear the witnesses, given the fact that we're under some tight timelines and the inability to reschedule. Thanks. That's my 2 cents.
Anyone else? So as it appears from the discussion, I think we will go ahead with our meeting on Monday. We will schedule it for, it's scheduled for 3:30. So any further comments? So Mr. Clerk, you can schedule the Monday meeting. Thank you to all the members for understanding that. And agreeing that we move ahead with the Monday's meeting. I just wanted to apologize you for any technical issues which we had. I will work with the minister's office to make sure that next time when he appears, we don't have these technical issues. So I will work with his office and make sure that we don't have these technical issues next time. So thank you to all the members once again. And with that, the meeting comes to an end. The meeting is adjourned.